Now to Australia, where Queensland and New South Wales have been facing catastrophic fire danger at the highest level possible. And for the first time, Sydney has seen this threat level since the warning system was introduced back in 2009. At least 71 bushfires are burning across New South Wales. The smoke is so intense and so thick it can be seen from space and has drifted across to New Zealand. Fire crews are getting little help, though, from the weather. On Monday, the mainland did not get a single drop of rain for the first time since record keeping began. With Australia facing an unprecedented bushfire emergency spread across two East Coast states, a political firestorm has erupted over the role of climate change. The co-deputy leader of the Greens party, Adam Bandt, called on the federal government to enact a new climate change agreement and said the Prime Minister needed to act with the speed and urgency as one of his predecessors, John Howard, who within 12 days of the 1996 mass shooting at Port Arthur announced sweeping new gun laws called the National Firearms Agreement. And that brought a fierce response from the current Deputy Prime Minister, Michael McCormack.
That's what Adam Bandt and the Greens and Richard Di Natale and all those other inner city raving lunatics and quite frankly, that's how he was carrying on yesterday. That's what they want. We're not going to go down that path. We're going to do the right and responsible thing. But at the moment, our focus is on making sure that we get these fires out. It's not about political cheap point scoring as Adam Bandt would want us to have.
Take a look at this map of Australia, because this is where the fires are burning right now. You can see it's across the entire country, but obviously New South Wales around Sydney, Queensland around the state capital Brisbane is where there's most concern. The Greater Sydney area, for the first time on Tuesday, the fire danger rating was at catastrophic. Officials have declared a state of emergency across New South Wales. So too have 42 local government authorities to the north in the state of Queensland. The past 10 months have been the hottest on record in Australia, and the Sydney Morning Herald is reporting that New South Wales could see 1 million hectares burned so far this fire season within days, if it hasn't already done so. That is about the same as the past 3 fire seasons combined, and summer is yet to arrive. Rainfall deficiencies, or what most call drought, are already the worst on record for northern New South Wales and parts of southern Queensland. And the New South Wales Fire Service has issued a very blunt warning. Due to the scale of the fires and the dangerous conditions, if you need help today, you may not get it. And in the midst of this disaster, for the Conservative government and supporters in the media, they're all insisting now is not the time to talk climate change.
This is sickening politicking. Bandt is looking to advance his political agenda on the back of lost lives and destroyed property. There's no one on this planet who's stupid enough to think that shutting down coal-fired power stations will put an end to bushfires. There's no one on this planet stupid enough to think that Australian energy policies will have any impact on the global climate while global emissions continue to rise dramatically. There's no one on this planet stupid enough to think that if every person in Australia stopped using their cars and only used renewable energy, it would make any difference to any climate anywhere in the world.
Well, the 11,000 scientists who declared a climate emergency last week because of global warming are perhaps that stupid. Among their urgent recommendations, we should leave remaining stocks of fossil fuels in the ground, presumably so they don't get to those coal-fired power stations in the first place. The reality is climate change does not cause bushfires, but it does lead to higher temperatures, less rainfall or drought, especially in these parts of Australia and recently California as well. And that is what causes the tinder-dry conditions, which make bushfire season longer, more deadly and more destructive. And yes, that's unprecedented. Charlotte Mortlock is a Sky News Australia reporter. She joins us now from Llandeilo, just outside Sydney near Penrith. OK, Charlotte, the big picture first up. Given all the warnings about catastrophic fire danger and the concerns about the weather, has this Tuesday been as bad as expected?
Yeah, it has been. It certainly lived up to the forecast. In fact, the forecast was so intense that there were 600 schools that closed their doors across the state in anticipation. Now, to give you some context, the catastrophic rating was actually only added back in 2009, and that was after the Black Saturday bushfires in Victoria claimed the lives of 173 Australians. Now, the fire danger rating produced on that day, the algorithm number was so high that it didn't fit on the scale. So that is is when we saw the catastrophic category added. And here in the Sydney region, it is the first time that that has actually been exercised since its introduction in 2009. And it certainly has lived up to its expectation. Today we see temperatures around 38 degrees Celsius. We see the winds gusting to around 80 kilometres an hour. Low humidity around 8%. That teamed with the extremely flammable and dry fuel on the ground, it really is the perfect storm.
So given that, is there any idea at this stage when fire crews might actually get the upper hand here, especially with the worst of those fires, or is it just simply triage and containment as best they can at this point?
Well, certainly the threat today, that is going to ease back. We're expecting a cold front to move across New South Wales later this evening. It's already started to move through southern parts of the state. It's going to be hitting Sydney around 6 or 8 p.m. this evening. But before that, it actually creates an even worse problem. We'll see the winds intensifying ahead of that cold front, which will certainly exacerbate problems for firefighters on the ground. They will have a chance to really try and gain the upper hand tomorrow and the next few days on these fires, but some of them are around 150,000 hectares in size. We've already seen around 350 koalas die from one of the fires burning at Port Macquarie, which is a coastal town in New South Wales on the mid-north coast. And our local fire service is saying that this is going to be quite cyclical right throughout summer. We're going to see a few days of heat and winds peaking, then a few days of reprieve before it starts back up again.
Very quickly, in some areas, in particular Katoomba, the Blue Mountains, not far from where you are, for example, residents have been asked to evacuate ahead of the fires because the conditions were so bad, or expected to be so bad. Is there some concern about the numbers who did not leave, who decided to stay behind?
This is a concern in some way, I guess. I mean, the decision to stay is a very personal one and one that is respected by authorities in New South Wales. But the problem we are seeing really coming through is that people are saying they want to stay and defend their homes. Then as it gets very close to their house, these bushfires and this inferno rolling in, they're deciding at the last minute that they want to leave. Now, the problem with that is that with these fires in New South Wales, we're seeing spot fires occurring some 12 kilometres ahead of the fire front. So you imagine going out and looking at a road that you thought you had a clear path and a clear evacuation route that then is decimated and you've got a fire rolling towards you and all of a sudden you can't leave. So that is why the authorities are saying that if you think at any stage you might want to leave, you should be leaving early.